first and foremost,
Oh, it's being recorded.
first and foremost, we are going to be making some homemade rolls with some honey butter. And if you've never done homemade rolls before, this recipe you are going to love. It is a oven risen dough, which means you don't have to wait for it, which is really nice. We do have to let it rest, but we don't have to let it rise. Then we are going to be doing a salad, and this is our sort of tip in our hat to the state of Florida. It is going to be a radish in orange salad with arugula and a coriander lime dressing. It's so good. We are also doing a citrus chicken over a coconut scallion rice, and we've got a lot to do. To start, we are going to go with our roll. So, and I'm going to just sort of talk about what we've got going on here, and then I'm going to put her to work. So,
Sounds good.
So in your bowl, if you haven't done this already, you should have your flour, your sugar, and your salt. I'm going to go ahead and assume you've got those measurements right there. If you want me to go through the measurements with you, I can. But we have our flour, our sugar, and our salt. And this is sort of weird because we have sugar in here, but is our roll sweet necessarily?
No.
So what do we need that sugar for? What's in here?
That would be some yeast.
The yeast. So we need the sugar for the yeast. So the yeast needs two things to activate. It needs the sugar to eat, and it needs warm water to activate, to sort of get it going. Now, as far as the water is concerned, there's an optimal temperature. So between 105 and 110 degrees is optimal. If you have water that's less than that, it might not fully activate your yeast. And if you have water that's too hot, it may kill your yeast and it won't rise. So we do want to make sure that the water is usually between about 105 and 110 degrees. A little bit on either side will be fine. You just don't want to go extreme in either direction. We also here have some vegetable oil. Now, if you don't have vegetable on hand, if all you're using is olive oil, that is fine. If you're using coconut oil, that is fine. Avocado oil, anyway, we're good. Any oil, we're good. So the way we're going to be putting this together is we are going to take our yeast, and I like to use the liquid measuring cup because then I could do everything all in one place. And then I'm going to send Anne to the sink. She's going to get me 1 cup of warm water. When I bring it back, we're going to take our mixing spoon and we're going to be mixing it until it's dissolved. So we really want that yeast to sort of disappear in the water. And then once it's all dissolved, we're going to take whatever oil that we're using and we're going to dump it in with the yeast and give it a stir. And we know oil and water don't like each other very much. So we want to really mix it. Once we get it nice and combined, we're going to take all of our liquids and we're going to pour it into our dries, and then we'll get to the next step.
So now I'm worried about that 105 degrees. I'm a little stressed already.
So one way that you can do it, I was just checking to see if I had my thermometer. One way to do it is to use a thermometer. I will tell you from personal experience, if you let my sink run just for 30 seconds, we're going to get right to where we need to be. A lot of times I do this without using a thermometer at all. If you just run your sink at home, you should be fine. Wait until it's warm to the touch, but not super scalding hot. Okay? Are we feeling confident?
I think I can manage.
Okay.
This.
All right. So here is your 1 cup mark, and the hand washing sink actually warms up faster. So I want to head to the hand
I'm
washing.
doing that right now.
And while she's getting the water, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the rolls. So first, you are going to preheat your oven, and this is going to sound sort of weird, but depending on your oven, you want to be anywhere between 375 and 400. If you have a convection oven that you're using, you may want to go to a lower temperature. If you're not using convection, the 400 is fine. And you want to make sure that it is preheated so it cooks for the correct amount of time. All ovens are different, so once we put it in the oven, I'll sort of tell you what you should be visually looking for to see when your rolls are done. Also, a little bit more about the ingredients. So it is all-purpose flour. You do not need bread flour for this. You do not need 00 flour for this. All-purpose is absolutely fine. White sugar is definitely the way to go. And as far as the yeast, you can do either a rapid rise or a regular. It doesn't matter. Fleischmann's in that little packet, that's what you're going for. It doesn't matter which one. Oh, Anne's back. All right. So now she's got the water. I'm handing her over the spoon, and she's just gonna mix it until it's combined.
So I could use a thermometer if I wanted to.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Don't drive yourself crazy though, because sometimes you can drive yourself crazy. But a lot of people will say, you know, I went through all this trouble of making bread, but then it didn't rise like it was supposed to. And the first thing I always say is, was your water too hot? Was your water too cold? And it ended up killing the yeast, right? So, but while you do that, we are making rolls tonight, but you can use this same recipe and it makes the dough for one large pizza or personal pizzas. You can do a stuffed bread, AKA stromboli with this. You can do fried dough. So lots of different uses for this recipe. I have a feeling this is going to become a staple for a lot of people.
I'm excited to learn this recipe because I love to bake bread, but letting it rise, I don't always have the time or busy hustle. So this is fabulous.
Yep, and again, we're gonna have to let it rest, but we don't have to let it rest. Yeah, it'll do it right in the oven for us.
Right,
That's
how does
looking
that
great.
look?
Okay, so you are gonna continue to stir. And
Okay,
I'm
I'm
gonna,
pouring in your.
and I'm pouring in my olive oil here. Now, for those of you doing this at home, one thing you might find is that a cup of water might be a little bit too much or not enough, and that is okay. I'm gonna go off screen just for a second. We have our extra flour right here, and if we need it, we will go ahead and add it. Conversely, if we find we need more water, we will add that. So I'm gonna have Anne go ahead and pour it right in. You can just put your spoon right in there. Yeah. And there we go. Pouring that whole thing in. It looks great, nice and dissolved. And then what we're gonna do is just take that mixing spoon and we're gonna be mixing it all together. We wanna make sure we're scraping the sides. We wanna make sure that we're scraping up from the bottom and just saturating all of those dry ingredients in there. Now, it's not gonna look fully mixed because we still have to knead it. Right. How good are you at kneading that?
I'm okay.
You're okay? All right.
We're probably not as good as you, but I'm okay.
I've done it a few times.
You've done it.
I've done it a few times. So I'm gonna go ahead, once I feel like I've got this pretty well mixed, I'm gonna go ahead and just touch it. And what I'm looking for is I wanna see, is it too dry? Is it too wet? So I'm gonna have Anne hold my spoon. There you go, with the magic wand. And this is actually looking really great. Now you notice it's not all together yet, and that's okay. But now we have to knead it. What I like to do is knead it right in the bowl because then you're not making a mess. So to knead it right in the bowl, I'm gonna take a little bit of flour on my hands. And then I'm gonna gather it into almost like a log shape, like this. And then the motion is gonna be fold towards you. Take this part of your hand, push back, turn. Fold towards you, push back, turn. And we're really only looking to do this like 5 or 6 times. So I'm gonna do the first 2, and I'm passing it to you. So here, we're gonna switch.
All right.
I'll take this.
And I'll get some flour in my hand. I like this idea because when I knead at home, I end up with flour
Yes,
everywhere,
everywhere.
I have to say.
Everywhere. In my hair. Good thing we're wearing aprons today. Ooh, do you like our
Huskies.
Huskies.
Go Huskies.
All right, so I'm folding towards me, taking this part of my hand, pushing back, turning the bowl. Fold, push, turn, fold, push, turn. So I'm gonna hand this over to Anne, and she's gonna do it another few times. And while she does that, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about kneading the dough. So a lot of recipes are not very specific. It might say knead for 2 minutes, knead for 5 minutes. Well, let me tell you, when I get going kneading, I need fast. So my 2 minutes or my 5 minutes may be different from Anne's. So how do we know when to stop? Well, a couple things. The first is everything is sort of combined together. Now, if you have a little bit of extra in the bottom, that is okay, not a big deal, but everything should start to be coming together. The second thing is you should stop when it starts to fight you back. So if you're doing it and you're feeling like it's becoming tough to do, you are done. And maybe that means you've only kneaded it for a minute. That is okay. If you over knead, you're gonna end up with a tough bread. So we wanna make sure that we're doing it just enough, but not doing it too much. So I'm gonna check yours. Yeah, actually this looks great. So I'm just gonna sort of hold this up. So this is what ours looks like right here. It's all together. When I press in it with my finger, it sort of springs back a bit. And that's what we're looking for. So I know we talked about the fact that we don't need to let it rise, but we do need to let it rest. I'm gonna give you we're gonna do some science. Okay, a little bit of science. So as you are kneading the dough, you are creating gluten strands, which is the texture of the bread. The more you knead it, the tighter the gluten strands get. So if I had an elastic band in my hair and I pulled it out and I pulled that elastic tight and let it go, it's gonna go back into its original shape. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Definitely has happened to me. You're trying to push out a pizza in a pan and it wants to push back. Yes. Chances are you had a little bit too much fun playing with it ahead of time and your gluten strands are too tight. So if you just let it alone for about 10-ish minutes, about 10 minutes, and then you go back to it, it should be much easier to work with. So keep that in mind. And if you do have an issue with that, and you do let it rest, you have to make sure that when you go back to work with it, that you're not packing up all again and doing it again, because it's the equivalent of removing it. Right. So we're just gonna let this rest for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're gonna wash our hands and work on something else. So I'm gonna let those of you at home catch up while we get ourselves ready for the next thing. Sound good? All right. So we're gonna put this to the side. Right, we don't have to cover it while it's resting. We don't, because we're not letting it rise, and so it's not gonna be for a great length of time. So we don't have to worry about it drying out or anything like that. Perfect. Yep. All right, we're gonna go wash my hands. I feel like I wash my hands about 50 times a day at least, I think. So to get ready for your rolls, you're gonna want a baking sheet. So we just have a small baking sheet here. And your batch, if you made the full batch, is gonna be 8 rolls. So at some point, we're gonna get back to that. For now, we're gonna move on to the salad. This is probably a good point for us to just say, does anybody have any questions on the rolls? I'll give it a minute, and if you have any, let me know.
Christina, we have one question here. If the dough isn't springing back, is it over kneaded or under kneaded?
Ah, great question. If it's not springing back, is it over kneaded or under kneaded? I would say possibly over kneaded would be my initial guess on that, but tell the individual not to worry. Once it rises, once it rests, you should be good to go. Even if it's slightly over kneaded, it'll be fine. Any others? No? Great. Okay, so we're gonna move to our salad, and I'm gonna have Leah, my sous chef, go ahead and get me the tray with all of our salad stuff on it.
looks beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, it's so nice.
So say hello, Leah, everybody. Okay, so salad, let's see what we have here. 4 servings for this particular salad, which means that Ann and I each get 2. So I hope you're
It's very
hungry.
exciting.
Yup. So I like arugula, but you can really use anything you want. The only thing I probably wouldn't use is a romaine. I don't think romaine would work that great here, but you can use a mixed leaf lettuce, whatever you would like. I like to get mine already washed, so all I have to do is take it out of the bag. So I actually have the lettuce already in the bowls because we are going to be sort of marinating these other ingredients and then putting them on top of the salad. All right, so let's go through what we have here. First and foremost, we have 2 oranges. I know that your recipe said 3. Leah accidentally stole one from me earlier, so we're just going with the 2. That's okay. If you have 3, we're going to do the 3. So we have the oranges. We also have some radishes. If you are not a fan of radishes, try this salad anyway. It is so good. And the color, we are definitely, we're definitely keeping the skin on these. So we have the radishes, we have the orange, and then we have this beautiful marinade. So I want to talk about that just for a second. The first and primary ingredient to this is freshly squeezed lime. And for those of you down in Florida, you can use regular lime, you can use key lime. Either one will work great. Then we also have some toasted coriander. So coriander is a great spice. And then all you do is you don't actually have to toast it, it just brings out that flavor, that little extra bit. But you would just put it in a pan and heat up that pan, throw in the coriander, move it around a bit, and you're good. So we have that. We've got just a hint of Dijon mustard. And you gotta be careful with this one because Dijon, pretty potent taste. And if we put too much, it eclipses the flavor of everything else in the marinade. So we just want that little hit. Then we have some salt, we have some pepper. And because I don't like things too tart, I actually went ahead and just put maybe the equivalent of a 1/4 teaspoon of honey in there. Now that's not in your recipe, but if you're somebody who likes things a little bit on the sweeter side, that honey works perfect. Honey works perfect. So what are we doing with all this? All right, let's talk about it. For the radishes, I'm going to give you a big knife. You ready? Okay. There we go. Ann's chopping.
Serious business here.
I hope we've got Band-Aids. We'll see. All right. So I'm going to try to not make these roll everywhere. And let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm going for, and then I'm going to let you have at it. Okay. For the radishes, this is what I teach my kids. You always want to do flat side down when you cut it. So I cut the ends off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it right through the middle. I'm going to half it. And then I'm going to put that cut side down. And then we're just doing half moons. We're going to do half moon cuts and as thin or as thick as you like. There's no wrong way to do it. If you like a bigger crunch of the radish, you're going to go big. If you want a slighter crunch of the radish, you're going to go small. So we're just going to take it and we're going to just do our cuts. There we are. And then once we're done, we're going to put them to the side and work on our next one. Now, there's 5 radishes for the full batch. You might be like, that's a lot of radish for me. You can eliminate some of the radish, not a problem. So I'm going to turn this over to you. And while Ann is doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the oranges. So I tried to look for Florida oranges. All it said was that they were from the United States. So I can't tell you if they are Florida or not, but I can guarantee you that they are not as fresh as the oranges down there. So this is how we're going to do this. I think your recipe says that you can use a mandarin orange, so you can sort of peel and just segment, or you can use the full orange. I'm going to show you a great way to cut it for this particular salad. So I just have a paring knife here. And again, we don't want it rolling as we're doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the top and then cut off the bottom. There we go. And then doesn't roll anymore as I'm trying to work with it. I want to take this peel off, and I don't want the pith. The pith is the white part, and that is where all the bitterness is. The beautiful orange flavor comes from the oils in the skin, but we don't want the pith. So we're gonna start by taking our knife, angling it, and we are going to just cut downward. And we're cutting off the skin right to the pith. So I don't know if you guys can sort of see what we look like here. And this orange seems to have pretty thick skin, but I'm gonna just go around and I'm gonna do that to the whole orange. And just keep moving it. How's those radishes coming?
They were coming along.
They look beautiful.
But I have to ask you,
Yeah.
so I feel like when I slice things, I end up with a lot of variation in the thickness of my slices. So I'm good with this.
That's not just a you problem. Okay. It is not just a you problem. So is it, how do we get it?
How do I solve that?
So I think it's just, I don't want to sound positive. I think it's just practice. Yeah, I think it's just practice like anything else.
Yeah.
You know, when we have students that first come in, you know, and they're first starting to cut things and whatnot, you know, I think it's just a matter of
Just practicing.
yeah, just
Well, it's like the
practicing.
arts, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what our students
That's
do.
right.
Practice.
Just practicing. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm still working on the skin of this orange. I gotta tell you, this orange is not great.
This is why we need to be in Florida.
I know,
Next
one of
time.
many reasons.
Next
So
time.
I'm gonna go ahead and just pick this up. You can see all that pith is off. And then in just a second, I'm gonna show you how to go ahead and cut it. So you have your radish.
So the
The radishes are good. I'm gonna make some room on my cutting board. Oops. And for those of you at home who opted to do the segmented like mandarins, you probably made a smart move because this is a little bit messier. This is a little bit messier. That's okay. That is all right. You can even get the ones if you wanted to. You can even get the ones that are in the can,
Right.
you know, and that will
But
save
the fresh
you.
orange is so nice
You
though.
get to. For this, you have to. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut off here again. Perfect. And obviously this works with any citrus fruit. You can do this with lemons, with limes, grapefruits. I just find it's a nice way to get everything out there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna have you put radishes in here.
Okay.
And we are almost ready to cut these oranges up. So there's a way that I like to do it. I'm just gonna get rid of this so you guys can see me here. Make such a mess in this place. All right, so the way I like to do it, I like to just cut it like this. Look how pretty.
Yeah, that is pretty.
Isn't that pretty? And then we're just cut it into quarters. So there we go. We see this
Well,
here.
that's nice and easy.
Isn't that easy?
Yeah.
If you think it's easy, and you get to do the other one. There you go. So we're just gonna go ahead and
So
also
slices.
throw those in there. Now, again, this is one of those situations where if you like more of a big bite of orange, then you're gonna make bigger pieces. If you like a smaller bite of orange, you are gonna make smaller pieces. Good job. And the smells are so good.
I was just gonna say, it
Isn't
smells
it?
so nice.
For those of you doing this at home, you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. So I'm gonna get my messy cutting board out of the way. And I'm gonna rinse my hands and my knife. Get it down just a little bit. One thing I'm good at is making a mess. So I'm gonna keep my station clean. All right, I'm gonna do the same for you. I'm gonna go ahead and put this right in the sink. All right, so now we've got our radish and our orange. If you like a red onion or Bermuda onion, or whatever you want to call it. Thin slices of Bermuda onion also go really well with this salad.
That would be delicious.
So good, so good. I didn't do it today because I wasn't in the recipe, but honestly, add it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our dressing, our little marinade, and we're just gonna give it a whisk. Going back to the idea that the oil and water don't like each other very much, so we wanna get it all mixed up. And I don't know why I use such a small bowl, but now I'm gonna get it everywhere.
All right.
It's okay, we got this.
I like the idea of the lime in there.
Yes. And once again, if you like a little bit of sweet, but just a hint of honey in it, that's all you need. All right, so we've got this all done here.
Christina,
So
can
you
you
were
just
just
go
gonna-
over, can you just go over what ingredients are in that again?
Sure. So we've got lime juice, freshly squeezed. And really it should be freshly squeezed because the bottle stuff just doesn't taste quite the same. We've got some coriander that we toasted, but you don't have to toast. It just enhances that flavor. We've got some Dijon mustard, and remember, you want to go with what the measurement says because too much will overpower everything else you got going in there. And then some salt and some pepper. And then we just whisk, oh, I'm sorry, olive oil. We've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and then you're just gonna go ahead and whisk that up. And again, as far as the olive oil is concerned, you can use olive, you can use a vegetable, you can use avocado, it really doesn't matter. One of the great things now is if you go to the grocery store, you're gonna see a million olive oils, but a lot of them will tell you specifically what they're good for. So it might say right on the label, great for dressings and marinades. That's the one we want to grab. You know, if you have the choice. Otherwise, just use whatever you have at home and that will be fine. So I'm gonna hand this over to Anne. She's just gonna go ahead and pour it in and then give it a little bit of a toss.
Okay. This looks good. It smells so good too. I wish you could smell it.
So good. And then we're gonna let it sit. We're not gonna dress our salad with it quite yet. And you know, the salt and pepper shakers are your friends. So, you know, we have a certain measurement in your recipes, but if you're somebody who likes more, definitely just go ahead and hit it with a little bit more. So that being said, we're gonna move this to the side until we're ready to eat it. So that's gonna go over here. In your recipe, it's gonna tell you to take the sediments and to let them drain. That's why I have this over here. You can certainly do that. If you don't like a dressing that's a little bit more watery, I would suggest doing that. But quite frankly, my oranges weren't all that juicy. No, they were not all that juicy. But even if you did do it, but you still wanted to throw a little bit of that orange juice back in, you certainly put into the marinade. So that's what this was for here. So we're just gonna put that over here. And we're gonna let everybody catch up for a second. Wanting to know if anybody has questions so far. What are we thinking? Who's got one for me? Who's got one for Anne? She's been doing all the hard work for her.
That's right. I'm the worker here.
Anybody? All
Or
right.
questions about campus too. Anybody have any
Yeah.
income questions? Last week of classes this week.
Wow.
A little bit of stress on campus right now. I'm sure everyone remembers
I
that.
do. I am UConn alumni alum, class of '96.
Yeah.
So it seems like a long time ago. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. All right, guys, if we are feeling confident with our salad, then I'm gonna go ahead and move us to the chicken. So I'm gonna have Leah. Oh, Leah's telling me do not do the chicken, Christina. She says do the rolls. So she's gonna, this is why I keep her around. So she's gonna hand those rolls back to me. All right, get your rolls, everybody, get your rolls, get your rolls. So look at this, look how pretty this is
Oh, it
now.
looks beautiful.
All right, so
Yeah.
we're happy with ours. We think ours is looking good. I hope everybody else's is looking good. And remember, we weren't looking to have it rise necessarily, we were just looking to have it rest. So what we need to do is we need to take this ball of dough and we need to get 8 equal pieces as best as we can. Reason being, if your roll is bigger and my roll is smaller, and they're going in at the same time, mine's gonna burn, yours isn't gonna cook, and we're both gonna be unhappy.
And then the kids will fight too.
And then the kids will fight, absolutely. So we need to get this as even as possible. I am gonna send Leah to go get me a bench scraper, because I find cutting it usually helps a bit. And then we just have a baking sheet over here. It is not greased, because it is a non-stick. If you have a baking sheet that is not a non-stick, then you need one of three things. You need a little bit of oil or spray at the bottom of the pan. You need a silpat, AKA silicone mat, or you need some parchment paper. But if you have a non-stick like we do, we don't need to worry about any of that. That's great. So we're gonna take this. We got some extra little pieces on the bottom. We're just gonna go like that. Just the first one. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give this to you, and I'm gonna have you see what your math skills are, how we divide this up. So this is one of my favorite tools. This is a bench scraper. I'm pretty sure the reason why it's called a bench scraper is because chefs' cooking areas are called their benches. So like when you're interviewing for a job, a lot of times, they ask you to do bench tests to test your skills. And this is great because you can cut with it, although not sharp, but you can cut with it. You scrape the stuff off your table into the trash. You can portion. You can pick stuff up, put it into your bowl. So this is one of our tools that we love the most. So I'm going to hand over my tool, and we're looking for 8 rolls. So we're going to start. They're not going to be circle, obviously. They're not going to be round.
Circles at first, right?
No, but we
So
don't.
I
We
could
will
make
have
8 wedges and then we could
100%.
Right, that's what I'm doing.
So Anna's going to make the 8 wedges. I just want to remind everybody out there that you want to handle it, aside from rolling it into the ball, you want to be handling it as little as possible, because we don't want to get those gluten streams going again. So I'm going to take this, get rid of this out of our way. Quick, while she does that, I'll put it back. And while she's working on that, look, it looks like she's making scones. I love
It
it.
does look like
It looks like scones. Good job. While she's doing that, I want to talk about what to put on top and what to put in it. So this is the beauty of this recipe. It is totally customizable. Let's say you're in the mood for cheddar cheese. Those are great. So now you're just going to go like this, and you're just going to get it into that ball. And there it is. Yeah. So I'm going to let Ann do this while I talk to you. So if you want cheddar cheese rolls, we would take some cheddar cheese, shredded, in with the dry ingredients. Anything we're going to add to this, we're going to be adding to the dry before we add the water, so we don't overmix. Cheddar cheese is great. Fresh herbs, amazing. One of the ones I like is to do some cooked bacon sort of broken up in the roll. That's really good. So you can really add a lot of different things to the actual base part of the roll. Remember, you always want to do it prior to adding the liquid with the yeast, because otherwise you tend to overmix. Now, what about on top? So today, we're just going with some basic olive oil and a pastry brush. We're going to brush over the top. You can also use butter. You can also use, believe it or not, heavy cream. Heavy cream is also a fat that works well. It's going to give you more of a dull appearance, but that works nice. And then once you add the olive oil, your butter, your cream, whatever you're doing, you can put stuff on top of it. So one of my faves is everything bagel seasoning. Really good. What's another one? What else can we put on top?
Well, you could do just sesame seeds or poppy seeds.
Yep, sesame seeds, poppy seeds.
Or salt.
Yes, coarse salt is huge. Love that. Some herbs we can put on there.
Nice.
This is looking good. So I'm just going to move the hands around just a little bit so we make sure that in the oven that they
That's better.
Beautiful. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to get this on here. And then we'll throw it into the oven. So how do we know when they are done? So nice golden brown. When you tap it, they should sound hollow. Worst case scenario, you really can't figure it out. I don't know, they've been in there for 25 minutes and I still have no idea who got. Do what you do with cakes. Just grab a toothpick, stick it in, yeah. And if it pulls out, it looks doughy, you still got some time to go. It's so tough because when we do recipes, people's ovens cook so differently.
Yes.
You know, and then you have the altitude thing on top of that for some regions. And so we give you the approximate, but you do have to keep an eye for sure. All right, looking good.
These look great.
And so because it's an oven risen dough, these are gonna puff up absolutely beautifully in the oven. And you guys have a couple choices. You can put them in now, which is maybe what I would recommend. Or you can wait until you get closer to eating and have them super hot. Way out of the way. All right, those look great. What do you think, Jen? Should we put them in now?
I say put them in there.
Put them in now. All right. So behind us, we have our oven. And we're gonna just roll them right in here. And I'm short, so I don't put it on the bottom one, otherwise I can't see if they're short. And then I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so I set the timer for 10 minutes and then I'm gonna check it. We are blessed here to have a very high-powered convection oven in the back. So I'm used to those cooking times. So I'm gonna start with a shorter cooking time and then see if I need to go longer. But that should be good. And we're gonna be smelling that fresh bread. Nice, really soon.
I'm gonna be distracted.
Now is a great time. If anybody has any questions so far about anything that we've done, if you want to chime in, we're happy to answer. Anne's going to be a professional after this. I'm going to be inviting her back.
It's a dream come true.
So, anything?
Feel free to put any questions you guys have in the chat or the Q&A, and we can get those answered for you.
Awesome. So if you do have questions, we'll have her interrupt us. We're gonna start moving on to the next day, which is actually right in front of me, so I don't have to make a wheel, go grab it. We're gonna be doing our skillet chicken tenders with our citrus sauce. And I mean, it's delicious, what can I say? And this is a real crowd pleaser because everybody likes this. Not only does everybody like it, but it's great for those warm nights. It's not too heavy. It's not too saucy. It's just perfect. So in front of us, we have some parsley, and isn't this a great? Beautiful. It's going to add some great color. We need to cut up a bit of parsley. So this is the way I would do it. We recently got a pair of those fancy herb scissors. Leah loves them. I'm still a traditionalist. I like to do it. So we're going to take a little bit. And everybody always says, what about the stems? What about the stems? Well, the stems aren't going to hurt you, you know. But what I like to do is I sort of twist it, and then I fold it under. And then I go with my knife, and I cut it like this. There we go. So I'm going to hand this over to Anne. Okay. She's going to cut, and it smells so good once you cut it. So for those of you out there that love using fresh herbs, a great way to get even more flavor, especially if you are not cooking the herbs. So let's say that you're throwing some basil on some pasta at the end. You want, or mint's a great one. You want to bruise those herbs because bruising the herbs with your hands is sort of pinching them and everything. That's going to bring all the oils and that great flavor to the surface. If you're doing a lot of herbs, let's say we're making pesto and we got a lot of herbs going on. We're going to stick them in a plastic bag, get all the air out of it, and then take a rolling pin and we're going to roll it.
That's a great.
Yep. And then that's going to get all of those oils going as well. So that's looking great. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this. That looks fabulous. And now we are going to talk about, I'm going to have my sous chef Leah get the chicken. Obviously, we want to keep chicken in the fridge until we're ready to use it. I am gonna get my recipe for this. I want to make sure I name everything correctly. So give me 1 second. This has got a few more moving parts, so we want to make sure we get this right here. All right, so Leah is bringing out our 2 pounds of chicken tenderloins. So that is right here. And what you want to do, anytime you have chicken tenderloins, chicken breasts, whatever, you want to take a paper towel and just sort of blot it off. And then you want to salt and pepper it. And salt and pepper it on both sides, you know, get it all over. And then you're just gonna let it sit in the refrigerator. So here's our chicken. Now, let's say that you wanted to make it a little bit easier to eat. You can take these chicken tenders and cut them up, and quicker to cook, and so quicker to get to dinner. And also, like my kids, they like to do that, so they don't need that before. But because your recipe says chicken tenders, we're going chicken tenders. Now, it's also going to tell you to cook them in 2 batches. That is because most people do not have a pan that will fit all of them. If you have a pan that's going to fit everything, you don't need to do it in 2 batches. You could just do it in 1 batch. So we have our chicken tenders here, about 2 pounds. That's going to feed 4 nicely. We've got some olive oil in our pan right here. And then we've got a whole bunch of other stuff. So here, we've got some orange juice, freshly squeezed, which is where my orange. It's fine. So freshly squeezed orange juice in here, along with some chicken stock. We also have, anything else in this one? Lemon juice, grab that lemon juice. Thank you, Leah. Some lemon juice. Then we also have some flour. This is gonna be our thickener. It's gonna help us thicken that sauce. If you have a gluten-free person in your life, we're just gonna swap this out for cornstarch. Oh, perfect. Yep. So flour for today, if you have that gluten-free person, or you just prefer it, cornstarch works fine. We've got a lot of garlic. I love garlic. Do you love garlic?
I'm very fine.
Okay, so loving garlic. So we have that, and what we did is we did the garlic press for it, but you can also mince it really fine. Then we've got some butter. The butter is going to be in 2 steps. Some of your butter is going to go into the pan when we saute our garlic. And then the rest of the butter is going to go in at the end when we put in our zest. So we've got lemon zest and we have orange zest along with that butter. And it's going to really sort of thicken that sauce and make it delicious. If you are somebody who doesn't love a strong tartness, I would say cut back a little bit on the zest and or go back to the honey. The honey works really great in this. You should be sort of testing it as you go. So I'm going to have Leah get us a couple of spoons. And then that round, we won't double dip, but we do need to be trying it to make sure it's good. So for this as well, I have wooden spoons, but I also have tongs for my chicken. And we should have an additional plate. So when the chicken comes off of the burner, we're not putting it back on the dirty plate. So ooh, she made a lot of spoons.
She knows what to taste.
Yeah, we got a lot of spoons. We're gonna be doing a lot of tasting. There might not be any at the end. So I'm gonna get this started, and then we're gonna talk about the rice a bit. So we use induction cooking here. So here is my induction burner. And I don't know if anybody out there has used induction cooking before, but it's fabulous. We feel much safer with it because it only heats the pan. It doesn't, the burner doesn't really heat up. So especially when we're doing stuff with our youngsters, you know, we worry less about them burning stuff. Because it's induction, it works with magnets. So if you were to pick this up and try to do something fancy, chances are it's going to turn off on you. But we're going to go ahead and for our burner, remember, you've got your pan, you want to have some olive oil in there or vegetable oil, either way. And then you want to cook this so we're browning it. And we are going to be cooking it more or less through. So we don't want to go too high on the temp. If we go too high, we're going to scorch it, and then it's not going to be cooked in the middle. which is why I don't make rice. Because I've been a chef for 23 years. I cannot make rice. I make Mia make the rice for me every time. My rice somehow ends up being both undercooked and burnt at the same time. So we will never be doing a risotto class here. Never, never. I don't understand it. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this. I'm gonna go 375. I don't know if you have that ability to look at that temperature on whatever stovetop you're using, but I'm gonna go about 375, which is about a medium high temp. And then I'm gonna wait for it to heat up. As we know, if I was to put my chicken in there right away, the oil would absorb the oil instead of being cooked in the oil. So we gotta give it a minute. And then we're gonna use our tongs to get that chicken in there.
Yeah, this is a great idea. I've never used an induction cooktop.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're great for people who can't. People who love this. You know, it's nice because we've got this really huge counter. I know you guys can only see a small portion of it. I want to say it's 16 feet. And when we're doing classes here, we can just pop up these burners and plug them in wherever we need, however many we need. So it works out really nice. So,
Oh, we're all popping up. It's very
yeah,
exciting.
that oven was in. And so how can we tell when our oil is ready? Well, one is the hand test. So you put your hand over it. And if you need to pull your hand away, because it's too hot, which clearly that's not happening here. You might need to give a little bit more time. Also, just a little bit of water. You just go with this. If it sizzles, you're good. Or you can take the chicken and go like this and just see if it's sizzling. You can hear it. Can you hear it?
Oh, when I'm here, yes, I can.
Yeah.
I can see the bubbles.
We can see a little bubble. I mean, we're probably jumping the gun a little, but that's all right. We're just putting it in. So I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna get my chicken here. And so again, these are tenderloins. You can cut these up. You can use regular chicken breasts too. Pretty fine.
So bone-in would work in this recipe as well?
Sure, bone-in will work. You know what else will work really good with this is the thighs.
Oh, yeah.
Thighs are great because it's really hard to dry them out.
Yes.
Really hard, and so they stay moist. So I think I'm able to get all of ours in. So if you're able to get all of yours in at home, you're just gonna go ahead and do that. And then I'm gonna swap out my dirty plate for a clean plate. And while this is going, you know what people love, I mean, I do this as well. You wanna be flippant, you wanna be playing with it.
Yes.
The thing of it is you wanna get that sear. So you wanna leave it in the pan and not play with it. So because of that, I'm going to walk away. And we're gonna talk about our rice. So we're gonna leave that here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna grab the rice. All right, so we remember just a couple of minutes ago, we talked about how I am horrible at making rice. And so look what I use. Instant. It tastes fun. So for our meal tonight, and you have a recipe. Your recipe, I forget off the top of my head what quantity it's based it on. But if you are using the instant, you want to go with their measurement. What we're doing here, and this is so cool, is we are taking the water out. We're not using water. Instead, we're replacing it with coconut. By replacing it with coconut milk, you're giving it a creaminess, you're giving it some added flavor, and it's just so much better. And then at the end, we're going to be tossing with some fresh scallions and some salt and some pepper. So Leah already went ahead and added the coconut milk to this. We're doing the microwave version. So for how many servings did we do? We did 2 servings, and we did half a cup of 1 cup rice, 1 cup rice, 1 cup water. There it is. I think that's what you, or not water, coconut. I think that's what's in your recipe. Then you give it a toss. Then you hand it to with me, I'll find somebody else. And then she's gonna put it in the microwave for you. In the meantime, we've got some scallions that we need to cut up. A lot of people ask about the scallion. They say, all right, well, what part of the scallion do you use? Do you know the other name for scallion? Green onion, yep. So scallion or green onion, same thing. So you can use either side. Most of the time, especially American cooking, we use the green part up to the white. You will see in other cultures that they would use this part. But we just want the green. So I'm gonna have you go ahead and cut our scallions. And we're gonna cut it really to this part where it starts to get. All right. Yeah, we're gonna go.
And what want this little segments?
Yeah, that's fine. Again, this is one of those things where it's really to your personal preference. You can do big, you can do small, doesn't matter. And what do we do the rest of this coconut milk? We should make peanut coladas. We need to plan better next time. Next time we're going better. I'm gonna leave our salt and pepper here, chef's best friends. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this back over. So taking a look, I'll move this back so we're sort of more in front. Smells so good. Our rolls are looking great. I'm gonna check these now. Yeah, we still got a little bit. I think we still got a little bit of time. And looks professional, that's a professional job right there.
She's being nice.
Oh, let's see. Smells great. I will say, it is amazing to me, the increase in food costs.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's literally across the board, when families go shopping right now. So, it is crazy.
I have 3 teenagers and we see it in our house.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has an appetite.
Yeah, and it's literally across the board. It's with everything. It's with everything. So. That being said, talking about this dish, if you wanted to, could you go meatless? Could you use tofu for this? You could. You could absolutely use tofu. A little bit more on the expensive side, could you use shrimp? Yeah. As a matter of fact, cooked chicken or shrimp also is great in the salad.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice idea for lunch.
Yeah, very light, but really good. So these are starting to brown for me. So I'm gonna go like this, flip them over. What's your favorite thing to cook at home?
Well, we make a lot of pasta.
Yeah.
In our house. A lot of pasta, a lot of chicken, salmon.
Salmon's a good one. Yeah. Have you ever poached the salmon?
I often roast it in the oven when I'm making this family dinner during the week because it just needs to get done and be easy to clean up. But I love poached salmon.
So I'm gonna tell I'm gonna give her a little trick, okay? This is gonna be poached salmon any night of the week. All you do, you take a baking dish, you put your salmon in there, you put your vegetables in there. Maybe it's cut broccoli, maybe it's cut up, I don't know, I'm making stuff up at this point. Maybe it's spinach, maybe it's Brussels sprouts, but they gotta be small. Then you add a little bit of vegetable broth, a little bit of water, a little bit of white wine, and then you take lemon and slice it, place the lemon all over your salmon, drizzle it with either butter or olive oil, seal it with tinfoil, and put it in for the same amount of time, and it poaches it. And you got your whole meal cooked at once.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
I love that idea.
And I gotta tell you, probably 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Leah, do you want to show them the rolls?
What about you?
Woohoo! Here it goes. Does anybody's rolls come out now? Maybe everyone's mouth is full.
I think so. I think they all started their rolls.
I think they did. Who would it? So our rolls are done. While this is sort of, yeah, can we show?
So earlier today, we have put together to show you there you go. She put together your honey butter. So to make the honey butter, you're just gonna take butter, it can be salted, unsalted, doesn't matter. And then you're gonna add some honey to it. And you're gonna mix it up and leave it alone. You can leave it on your counter, that's gonna make it easier to spread. But we love doing different, what we call compound butters. They add to so many things. So whether it's you toss it in the pasta, fabulous. You put it on your roll, or you can actually make a compound butter. Maybe you're putting herbs and garlic and stuff in there. Freeze it, cut it into chunks, put it in the middle of your hamburger when you're grilling, and then it sort of infuses the burger, makes it nice and juicy and moist, really good. So we love flavored butter. Now, if you're more of an olive oil person, then you can do the flavored olive oil, same sort of idea. You just get a jar, pour some really nice olive oil in there, and then whatever you want to flavor the olive oil with. Maybe it's chili peppers, maybe it's garlic, maybe it's some fresh rosemary, and you're just gonna let it infuse. All right, these are looking good. I gotta tell you, I like it better when I cut them into smaller pieces. I do. I'm not a patient person. That's probably the rice issue, you know. And so for me, I'm like, why aren't these cooked? We should see if there are questions. Yeah, good point. Any questions for us while we wait for the chicken?
Doesn't look like we've had any questions come in yet.
You're very, very good at it. I will say that. Thank you. So I'm gonna ask Anna, what is your favorite part of your job?
Oh my goodness, my favorite part of my job, okay, it is attending events and seeing what our amazing students are doing.
Yeah.
So today, for example, so in between all of my meetings, I took 45 minutes and I went to our new industrial design class. So we have a new program in industrial design, it's joint between the School of Fine Arts and School of Engineering. And the students were designing a swing near Mirror Lake. So the swing that had been there in the tree, it's gone because the tree, unfortunately, the tree got old and had to be cut down. So everyone on campus was very sad. So our students are designing new swings that'll be freestanding swings. And they were so beautiful, all the designs, and actually facilities is going to build them. So our students are designing these swings that will be all around Mirror Lake.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was amazing. That's the best part of it.
Yeah. See it sort of come full circle.
Yes. Yeah. The students are so talented. UConn students are really smart. They're really gifted. They're so focused. They're interested in giving back to the community and doing good things on campus and off. And so this was a really good example.
And when will they be available?
They're going to be built so in the fall. So they're going to be built this summer. We're going to fabricate them in some of the shops on campus.
Okay.
And some of the students will be involved in the fabrication. So they'll learn some good building techniques.
Nice.
Which is great for industrial designers or some of our set design students from theater. So they'll be ready in the fall.
Awesome. And I know fine art, it certainly shows that we should keep our eyes open for.
Oh my goodness. So our friends in Sarasota won't be able to come, but if you are within striking distance of campus, we are putting on Little Shop of Horrors right now.
Oh, I love that.
Oh my goodness, the students are amazing. And of course, that show features, the big carnivorous puppet
Yeah.
plant, and our puppetry program built all of the puppets, so through the show, for those of you who
Gets bigger.
gets bigger and bigger, this carnivorous plant. So much fun.
See more.
Yes, Seymour and Audrey.
That's great.
Yeah, super fun.
That is great. And as the students who are there now are wrapping up their last semester, anything going on during the summer that you think about?
So next weekend we have graduation. We have all the different graduation ceremonies. We will be graduation and doing that old style, which is individual. So in the School of Fine Arts, we have our graduation majority spring, and it's beautiful. So we're really excited about that. And then we're settling into summer, and we have like 3 sessions of summer school, so lots of classes going on. But it's nice, and well, you know, the campus is beautiful in the summer, and it feels a little more relaxed. It's just a really nice time of year to be there.
Aw, that sounds awesome. I do remember it being so beautiful up there in the spring.
Yes,
You
it's
know,
so pretty right now because we have all of our daffodils and our tulips, and the azaleas are starting to come out. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty.
and then just sort of reverting back to the Mirror Lake, I am fairly certain, I will have to check it out. I'm fairly certain that is where my parents met. Oh, my parents are both, yeah, my parents are both, Dijon alum, and I'm pretty sure that that is where they met.
That's great.
That's awesome. All right, so this chicken driving me a little crazy. I feel like she's pretty alright. She is laughing at me. Oh, but there's rolls. So we put our honey butter on there. And hopefully there's more honey butter, because I like to put mine like all over the place. There is. Should we make the entire one? Yes. Okay. Okay, of course. All right, so we need a plate for her. Or maybe not. I don't know what we do. And then you want some on the inside as well?
I'm just gonna taste it like this first because I want to get the full taste of the roll. Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness, this is so good.
I hope yours are good at home.
This is really good.
Anne did a great job.
What a nice, easy recipe too.
Isn't it?
Honestly, yeah, when you showed me how to do it, now I feel like I could go and do this.
I feel like this will become part of the routine. You say your family needs a lot of pasta. I mean, make these garlic rolls to go along with it. So
Yeah.
easy. So a couple things, if you want to do something extra special with the rolls during the holiday time, we actually break that up into, I want to say about 24 pieces. We take each piece and we get a fresh mozzarella ball. We put it in the middle, roll it up, and then we roll it in pesto. We put it in a spring-form pan, so ramekin in the middle. So we're almost building a monkey bread. The ramekin in the middle, once it's baked, you flip it over, you put the sauce in, and it looks like a wreath. It is, and again, same recipe, just doing it a little different. Let me just double check this, guys. So my chicken is looking good, so I'm gonna take it out, put it on my plate. And if you still got a couple minutes on the chicken, no worries. I'm gonna ask my sous chef, Leah, how are we on the rice? Thank goodness I'm not making. What do we got? We're looking good? Did you try it? What does it need? Anything? Oh, she did perfect. We didn't need anything. So what I'm gonna do is now that I have that all ready to go, I'm gonna go and we're gonna start the sauce. The first thing we're gonna do, I turn my pan off just to let it cool down just a bit so they don't scorch the butter. We're gonna put our butter in, again, doesn't matter if it's salted or unsalted, whatever you have on hand is fine. And I'm moving from my tongs to my wooden spoon. You can also use a whisk here, it's fine. I love the smell of butter too. So good. So Anne is going to come and help me every week.
Yes, I am. I'm signing up.
She's signing up, she's gonna come help me every week.
Don't tell the provost because I'm gonna be here instead of my office.
To do the Zoom classes. I was telling her when I was a freshman at UConn, I took an art history class. And it gave me a much better appreciation of what I'm looking at when I go to museums.
Yes.
So I just took my oldest daughter to the Boston Museum of Art.
Oh my goodness.
And we had a good time. We had a
It's
good time.
been days there.
You definitely could. And they had some really good exhibits there as well. So anything on or around campus for people art-wise to look at?
Yes, we have a fabulous exhibition right now at the Ballard Museum of Puppetry, which is in the
Oh,
new downtown.
cool.
And puppetry, of course, is one of our special unique programs at
Yeah.
UConn. And there's a great exhibition about Puerto Rican puppetry.
Oh, good.
One of the first exhibitions nationally about Puerto Rican puppetry. So it's really important that we're documenting this tradition. They invited artists for a panel discussion. It's been really just a beautiful experience extraordinary objects and just a
That's
great
cool.
experience to involve the artists in the community. So that's up in Store Center.
That's really great. I definitely, that would be fun to check out. And when people, so you have this unique program with puppetry. So what do people do when they graduate with this amazing skill? Like where are they in the world?
We have alumni who work on Sesame Street. We have alumni who work in the film industry. They work in animation, especially doing stop motion animation,
Yeah.
because all of the objects for stop motion, those are essentially puppets.
Yeah.
We have lots of alumni who are working on Broadway, so there are amazing careers open for our puppet artists.
Well, I remember, it's been some time now, but I saw Avenue Q on Broadway, which I guess is a perfect example of using the
Yes.
puppetry.
And there were 2 newcomer ones.
Really?
Yes, very fast. So, yeah, it is an amazing, such an ancient art form, but such a modern art form too.
Absolutely. All right, so we've got our butter melted, so we're actually gonna go ahead and take our garlic and throw that in. And it's about to smell even better in here.
Yes, it's getting better and better.
It's gonna get better and better. And while we're doing this, I'm gonna ask my sous chef Leah, who's off camera right now, if she could set a plate, just a regular plate, yes, put the rice on it. We're gonna serve this really, we're gonna try to be pretty about it, plating. Usually I never get to the plating part. I'm so hungry. I just,
Not
okay, yeah.
Remember, plating is for holidays.
Exactly. Plating is for holidays. Or when you're trying to be a little fancy. Beautiful. So just one, I think, and we'll just throw everything on there, and then Ann and I will take our stuff there. All right. So this is now smelling great.
And you want that golden brown color like that.
So we don't want it to burn, but we want it to be nice and done. All right. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw in our flour. Because brown or burnt garlic is a little bit. So we're throwing in our flour, and we're essentially, by doing this, making a roux, sort of, because we've got the butter already in there. And we're making our roux, so we're gonna let this cook down just a bit. And just a reminder, if you got more gluten-free people in your life, you're just gonna go ahead and use corn starch. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our liquids, pouring those in. Again, if you feel like switching to a whisk, you can, but you don't have to. And we just want this to thicken. We don't want to thicken it too much because then it gets pasty. Just thicken it enough. It smells delicious. Oh my gosh, right? It's all the freshness of the ingredients. I cannot grow anything. I have tried. I am so bad. I would love to blame it on the soil at my house, but I feel like it's me. It's a me thing. Sort of like the rice.
I feel like it's the soil.
It's the soil, right? It's absolutely the soil. 100% the soil. And before we add that in, well, we have to add our zest and our additional butter. But before we add that back in, we do want to just test this once it thickens a bit and see where we're at with it. Does it need salt? Does it need pepper? Is it a little bit tart for us? So this is one of the meals that I will make for my parents. So my parents are in their 70s and they live about half an hour away. And what do you get your parents that have everything and they're in their 70s for Christmas, birthdays, whatever? So for the past few years, what I do is I get them a meal a month. So I make them a full meal, a nice gourmet meal, package it all up, drop it off at their house. And this is one of their faves.
That's a beautiful idea. I
This is
love
one of
that.
their faves.
Yeah.
And they like it. They don't have to cook for themselves that night.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Better than a restaurant.
Yeah. I like to think so. I like to think so. So this past Sunday was Greek Orthodox Easter, and I'm Greek Orthodox. And my husband is not. So what we generally do is we celebrate what I call regular Easter, but we use the Greek food and traditional food. And so instead what I did, instead what I did is I did a Greek Easter class this past Sunday, and anybody who attended got to eat the traditional feast with me. And so I made some extra, and I brought it down to my parents, and we had some lamb, which is traditional. We had spanakopita, or spinach pies, which we love. Greek salad with a creamy feta dressing, which was so good. And then we deep rice pudding. So, good, but simple. Now you notice we're thickening up a bit here, right?
Yeah, it is. You can see it.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're thickening up a little bit. We'll probably need to let it thicken up a little bit more. There is a huge pile of spoons that Leah gave me. All right.
Is it time to start tasting?
Yes. So
All right.
here's the deal, Ann. If it tastes terrible, that is okay. We have to just adjust the lid. It won't, but if it does. All right.
I have confidence.
And if it does, we're blaming Leah because she cracked it. So it's all right. Yep. Good. I do feel like it needs a hint of honey though. Would you say?
I feel like it's a tiny bit sour.
All right, ours is a little sour. We'll put in a little bit of honey. Got our honey. First one like this. Ready? Whoop. Okay. Go back here. And do we feel like we need salt and pepper? I feel like maybe a little salt.
I was just gonna say, just
A little salt. All right, so you're gonna grab the salt shaker. Let's give it a little hit. All right. If you don't have honey on hand, and you're feeling like it's a little tart, you can use white sugar, but I would say like a hit of brown sugar is gonna be even better. So now we're gonna go back here. We're gonna see what we think. Ready? All right, we'll put a little bit of honey. A little better. But we might need a little bit more. What do you think?
maybe more.
Maybe it more. All right. Go back. We should be good at this point.
I love the balance of flavors.
I do too. And this is looking great. We don't want the sauce to be too thick. I wish I had like an up camera. We don't want the sauce to be too thick because then it gets pasty on there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and turn this off actually. You don't realize how loud it is until you turn it off, right? And then we're gonna take our butter and our zest. Throw that in. And our parsley. So if you want to grab some parsley.
And can that go right in too?
Yeah, we'll put it in. And so the flavor will be mildly diluted anyway once it hits that rice. So we're gonna do this, and then what we're gonna do is we wanna bring that chicken now back up to temperature. We don't necessarily want to cook it. We just wanna make sure that it's, look how pretty that is.
This, I was just gonna say, the sauce actually looks delicious because you have all the zest in there and the beautiful green parsley. So it just looks so fresh and delightful.
Now you can also put the parsley on top. So the recipe says to put it in. I like to put it in. You can also put it on top if you prefer. All right, so I'm going to turn this back on low, medium low, and then we're just going to add the chicken back in. And we just want to again bring it up to temperature. Any remaining juices on the plate, you can pour right in there. So while we do this, let's dress our salad. I'm gonna go ahead and pour all these remaining juices right in here. We're gonna let this heat back up. Move this over a bit. It's amazing with all this space, you still need more space. All right, so we have our segmented oranges, our radishes, with our dressing / marinade of the lime juice, the coriander, salt, pepper, a little bit of honey, vegetable oil. And then I'm going to see if I can snag a spoon out of here. Here's one. All right, I'm gonna switch to a spoon. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this mixture and you're gonna put it on top of your greens. Although you can toss, it's completely up to you. And you can certainly make it look a little bit prettier than I'm doing right now, but
The dressing smells so good.
that's so
Yeah.
fresh. So fresh. So what happens is if you leave this in, say, the refrigerator for a period of time, it's going to continue to macerate, meaning that the juices are being pulled from the fruit. So you are going to end up with a decent amount of excess. And that's okay. All right, what do you say? Should we try it?
Let's try it.
Should we give one to Leo?
I think we should.
All right, we'll give one to Leo. So we're gonna let Leo come and grab one. He should help us out today. And then I'm gonna get, and then I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna just give it a little toss. And I shouldn't even admit this, but I love salt. So I'm probably, even though I didn't taste it yet, I'm probably just gonna put a little salt on it. And then,
So tasty.
Is it
So fresh and
good?
light.
I was afraid I was gonna bite into it and go, ah!
No, in fact, we have a big garden in our house, and we love to grow arugula, we grow radishes. So I'm thinking we can make this at home
Oh,
with our
yeah.
own vegetables, it'll be delicious.
Now, can you picture this with some grilled chicken, some shrimp?
Perfect summer dinner.
Yep. What you guys are enjoying at home. While Ann and I are gorging ourselves on the salad, does anybody have, India? Does anybody, just off camera, does anybody have any questions so far?
No questions in the chat yet.
Hmm?
I said there's no questions in the chat yet. Oh, we got one.
Okay.
Can they add more orange juice if they'd like?
Absolutely. 100%. And I like the oranges, give it that sweetness. The lime gives it the tart. So.
It's such a nice balanced dressing.
I love it. I could eat it all day long. I'm checking our chicken. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. Give it a flip. The sauce looks great, doesn't it? Look how pretty that is. I hope yours is as pretty at home as ours is. And you see we've got our rice over here that's got the coconut milk instead of the water. Anytime you make rice, I feel like water is the last thing you should put in. Put in your vegetable broth, put in your chicken broth, put in your coconut milk. That's gonna give it so much more flavor. And always make sure you salt and pepper as well. A little bit of butter or olive oil mixed in, also great. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these beautiful pieces of chicken. I'm just gonna bump this out of the way a little bit. So we're gonna take our platter and I'm going to artfully, as you know, I'm gonna artfully put this chicken on here. And then I'm gonna pour the juices over the top.
This looks gorgeous.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yep.
And I am gonna try it one more time because we wanna make sure before we put it all over our chicken that it tastes good. So. Oh my God. All right, ready?
Ready?
Perfect. There's such a depth of flavor there.
Delicious.
All right,
Delicious.
ready? So now, I'm trying not to splash and make a mess. And I go, oh. We're going over the top, we're going over the top. Look at how pretty that is. So we're gonna sort of push this, and I'm probably gonna make it slide right off the plate. There is our finished product. So I'm gonna have Leah snag us some plates, and we're gonna serve ourselves, and we're gonna eat. We're gonna grab one of those rolls. Does anybody have any questions about what we made, what we did? I hope that you are at home right now enjoying this. Oh, she gave us big plates. She knows.
She knows.
She knows.
She knows already.
All right, so let's try to serve a little bit here.
This is gorgeous.
So I'm probably gonna do this not the right way. We'll give us each one of these. And then we're gonna do some rice. There we go. And remember, feel free to salt and pepper if you're at home. All right. Oh, we need stuff to eat.
I might dig in with my hands.
You can. There you go. For you. And yeah. All right, guys, here we go. We are trying this. It looks so good.
Looks delicious.
It is hot. Mm.
Delicious, so tasty.
Did you eat it?
Absolutely. I love all the citrus flavors and the parsley.
And it's interesting because it seems so strong until you put it with the rice right on the chicken.
Right.
So,
Because they can absorb a lot of flavor.
yes, exactly. That's why you should always, like if you're doing pasta or rice or anything, you should always season it a bit. So it doesn't take from the flavor of whatever else you're putting in it. So this was amazing. Do you have any questions, Anne?
I would just encourage everybody, if you are cooking alongside us, do this
Yes.
because it's a great meal. And I had so much fun with this.
Oh, me too. What a great experience. And I gotta say, I'm proud to be a Husky. So thanks for having me today. I will open it up at the end if anybody has any last minute questions. Otherwise, go and enjoy your food because me and Anne.
Thank you both, Anne and Christina, so much. This was so much fun watching you guys cook, and it looks fantastic. We got a few comments in the chat that the sauce is excellent, but it sounds like everyone's really enjoying themselves and cooking. So if anyone has any last minute questions for Christina or for Anne, feel free to put them in the chat now.
And while you do that, I'm gonna have another bite.
You know, the perfect dessert would be dairy bar ice cream. So next time, I'm bringing you dairy bar ice cream.
Okay, great. So I have to tell you, for all 4 years of my college experience, I worked at the dairy bar.
You did not.
I did.
The perfect
And
campus job.
it was the perfect campus job. I will tell you, my roommates loved me because at the end of the night, we brought home ice cream. They also hated me because I always smelled like sour milk.
There's an upside and a downside. to
Upside and
everything.
downside. But I dream about all this right now. So you better. Now I'm
Next
hoping
time,
to-
next time.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And again, thank you, Anne, and thank you, Christina, so much. And I hope you enjoy that food. I also cannot, this is being recorded. I cannot wait to follow along to the recording and make it myself. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. We do have a survey that will pop up after this end of this webinar. We'd really appreciate your feedback. It helps us to plan our future events. And again, have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye,
Good night,
guys.
everyone. Go Huskies.
Go Huskies.